Welcome back to the most news in the morning. We are following developing news about your security and safety. New arrests in separate alleged terror plots targeting buildings and people in the United States. In one case, a man tried to detonate what he thought was a bomb outside an Illinois courthouse in Springfield. In another case, a man has been charged with trying to blow up a 60-story Dallas office tower, the Fountain Place. Here to help us break it all down this morning is Chris Voss. He's a former member of the Joint Terrorism Task Force in New York City, now the managing director of Insight Security. So, Chris, we've got these two new alleged terror plots, the fellow in Dallas, the one in Springfield, Illinois, and then, of course, the Zazi case, the connection between New York and Denver. Some people at home might say, what the heck is going on here?
Well, John, yes, it is a little bit frightening that all these things are happening at the same time. And that's what we'll see occasionally. There'll be clusters of these types of behavior. There's a couple of things that have drawn these plots out all at once. It is in the vicinity of the anniversary of September 11th. It's also at the same time Ramadan was just over. So there are a variety of reasons that has heightened the fervor, if you will, of the people that would like to do these things. And I think the reassuring thing is the fact that the terrorist task forces across the country are on top of these cases.
Yeah, and in fact, in a couple of the cases, the Illinois one and the Dallas one, it was actually law enforcement agencies that were sort of trying to help these would-be terrorists along. They tried to plant bombs, as we said, one outside the courthouse in Springfield, another outside the Freedom Place tower in Dallas. But there are other groups, including the Zazi one, allegedly, that have been operating by themselves, gathering materials by themselves. There was also the plot to kill Marines at Quantico in Virginia. And then, of course, there was the shooting of the two men at the recruiting center in Arkansas. Which is more dangerous? These lone wolves out there who are potentially operating with the help of law enforcement, or these groups that are collecting the materials by themselves?
Well, the lone wolves are many times harder to spot because there's less of a network that can be seen by the investigators of the terrorist task forces to pick up. They can be a little bit harder to spot occasionally. They're harder to defend against. There's just been good investigation, good proactive work on the part of the different task force to stay with these. As far as which is the most dangerous, the lone wolves are looking for single targets, but they're looking at spectacular targets.
You know, we have this we have this video allegedly of Najibullah Zazi at a Denver beauty supply warehouse buying bottles of peroxide, which didn't really raise too much of a red flag. If you've got people out there going around to these beauty supply places buying the same type of materials that were used in the 7/7/2005 bombings in London, does it speak to this idea that law enforcement needs to work more closely with people who are potentially selling raw materials for bombs to say, hey, be on the lookout here, be a little more vigilant?
Absolutely. That's a great point. And particularly in our society, law enforcement relies upon ordinary citizens, you know, the good citizens of the world, letting us know when things like this begin to happen. The cooperation is very important.
It's really kind of surprising to a lot of people that you have the alleged Zazi plot, then you have these two others in Illinois and Dallas. And, you know, people at home might wonder, are there more cells out there? And would some of those cells, if they potentially are out there, now have gone to ground because of the publicity surrounding these cases? What do you think?
Well, they've gone to ground on the one hand, but the advantage of the publicity of these cases is that more people are becoming aware of what to look for. We've sort of gone away from a strategy against terrorism of simply deterrence, where we don't hear about these cases, so we don't really know what's going on. And being in the dark as a population across this country, that's not good for our overall safety and security. So it's much better overall that, number one, we know about these cases, and number two, that these people are being arrested and taken to trial.
Still pretty shocking, though, that these folks are out there. Chris Voss of Insight Security, thanks for being with us this morning. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, John.
Karen?